Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Consumers have been surprised each month to find that their cable, phone, and internet bills are much higher than the advertised price. And that's why I introduced the True Fees Act, legislation that would put an end to these advertising practices that only confuse consumers about true cost. The True Fees Act requires phone, cable, and internet providers to, one, include all charges in the prices they advertise for their services. Two, allows customers to end a contract without early termination fees if providers increase their fees under that contract. And three, to provide clear and timely notice of price changes to consumers in an easily readable, high-profile, message to the consumer. Mr. Aaron, do you believe consumers should have these rights? Does Free Press support the True Fees Act?
We do, Senator Markey. We think this is an incredibly important incredibly important piece of legislation because it would give consumers the ability to simply see what they're actually paying for, and they shouldn't be surprised at the end of the month. In fact, I think they should be given information on what they're paying for each and every channel. I think that would be a great innovation, but most importantly, these below-the-line fees where you respond to an advertisement or they're selling you on the phone when you're trying to upgrade or switch your service, and you get the bill and it costs significantly more. It's a problem, and it shouldn't be allowed, and we definitely support this legislation.
And Mr. Powell, will you commit to working with me to ensure that your member companies become more transparent with their pricing practices?
Senator, we're always happy to work with you, yes. I would say that I think the concerns that we do have are that false and misleading practices are heavily regulated by a whole labyrinth of federal and state laws today. We're concerned about layering to that additional complexity that conflicts with those rules, and we think those rules are adequate for the entire economy where these kinds of fees are prevalent.
Yeah, people just don't have enough time to get go through each one of these details. It should just be upfront. There it is. Your prices are going up. I know you're under a contract, but you can't get out.
Mr. Markey,
the people, if
NAB
I may,
supports your.
Oh, you would. Thank you.
We support your legislation.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Anyone else want to interrupt me with that comment? I'd be glad to take it. The people of Massachusetts rely on local broadcast television every day. It's how we follow the Bruins, the Red Sox, and it's how we stay informed about our state government. Unfortunately, residents of Berkshire County have lost access to local Massachusetts broadcast television because the cable provider dropped the Springfield NBC station and the Boston ABC station from its channel lineup. So the Berkshires are just without this local television coverage because the Berkshires are technically part of the Albany, New York designated market area. And Western Massachusetts viewers can only access broadcast stations that focus on the Yankees, the New York football giants, and Governor Cuomo, as good as he is, but not our governor, not our sports teams. And that's why I introduced legislation to force the Berkshire Cable Provider Charter to engage in good faith negotiations with WWLP and WCVB to bring those stations back on the air in Berkshire County. Mr. Powell, will you commit to working with me and this committee to address this and other orphan county problems across the country to ensure residents receive the local broadcasting that is relevant to their lives?
Yes, Senator. The cable industry is always interested in trying to help with these painful orphan county situations. First and foremost, they're a problem of market definition, which the FCC and the DMA drawers have to resolve. Secondly, we have to deal with what rights for carriage do different local broadcasters have. Often they're constrained or we're forced to live with.
WWLP in Springfield says they'll give their station free over to the cable system, and the syndicated programming can all be blocked out, but the local news and weather and sports will be there. Okay, so it just seems to me there's a fix. Senator Smith, same question.
We support your legislation, and we'd like to be carried locally.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I have one final question, if I may. Mr. Chairman, in this era of media globalization and consolidation, public educational and government television, also known as PEG or cable access TV gives viewers critical information about their communities and offers an important platform for local voices. But the FCC has proposed a rule change that would allow cable companies to shirk their obligations to the communities where they operate. Under current law, towns and cities across the country are permitted to require, as part of cable franchise agreements, that cable operators set aside channels for PEG stations. The FCC's current proposal would allow cable operators to assign a value to these channels and then subtract that amount and the value the operator places on any other in-kind contributions from the franchise fees the cable operator owes. This channel would threaten PEG channels across the country. Mr. Aaron, why is it critical that the FCC not imperil community television by moving forward with this proposal? I have a letter with about 15 members of the Senate calling for this rulemaking not to proceed. Mr. Aaron.
Let's include that in the record at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I believe that the FCC is going against the wishes of Congress, which was very clear that these channels should be provided and that the fees are separate, and they're really trying to squeeze these essential local outlets. In so many communities, public access channels are one of the last vestiges of really local content, and it goes beyond just what they put on the air. These are institutions that are providing youth media training, technical training, giving people, in many cases, their first opportunity to be part of the broadcast or cable industry. I think these are vital local institutions. They should be protected, and they shouldn't be pitted against local governments by these companies that are making lots of money.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. And Mr. Chairman, Senator Cantwell asked me for her to make a request for documents to be entered into the record.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr.
They will be done. Senator Tester.